Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Gerard Pratt, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Lieutenant Commander Josh Clifford. We warmly welcome the family of Private Peter Hollingsworth Wright, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony from across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. I invite you all now to please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. If able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through until the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Peter Hollingsworth Wright. Peter Hollingsworth Wright was born in Castle de Mont, County Kildare, Ireland in 1880, the son of Warren Wright. He attended Old Wesley College in Dublin, and after leaving school, he became a draper in that city. In 1913, Wright emigrated to Australia, establishing himself as a draper in Terang, Western Victoria. His sister had married a man in Terang, and this appears to be the reason Wright made his home there. He became an active member of the community, belonging to the Oddfellows Lodge, singing in the local Methodist church choir, and playing in the Terang brass band. In early 1916, Wright enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force at Geelong and joined the 29th Australian Infantry Battalion. He trained in Australia for several months, and at the beginning of August set sail for England in the transport ship Orsiva. After a further 2-month training in England, he sailed to France and joined his unit in the field at the end of January 1917. When Wright joined the 29th Battalion in northern France, the Australians were emerging from an extremely severe winter. As the weather warmed up, they noticed that there had been movement in the enemy's lines. During 1916, German forces had suffered heavy losses in the Somme sector of the Western Front in northern France. At the end of winter in 1917, the German forces in France made a deliberate withdrawal from their front lines to a strongly defended position called the Siegfried Line. Known as the Hindenburg Line to the British, this position allowed the Germans to shorten their line and concentrate their forces. Discovering the Germans had retreated, Australian and British forces moved forward and occupied several French towns and villages during March 1917. One of these was a small village of Beaumetz, which was occupied by Wright and the men of the 29th Battalion. During their withdrawal, the Germans made defensive stands at selected points. Early on the morning of the 23rd of March 1917, German forces attacked Beaumetz, and Wright was killed in the fighting. He was 37 years old. Peter Wright was buried at Beaumetz Crossroads Cemetery in France, alongside more than 250 soldiers of the First World War. He was survived in Australia by his sister and by his brother in Ireland. Private Peter Hollingsworth Wright is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Peter Hollingsworth Wright, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières, or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you all for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.